Hi everybody, I'm Danielle James and welcome to my channel. Yes, I am wearing a Christmas shirt and I know it's not Christmas. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about the things that my near-death experience taught me. The first one is that family is very, very important, and family was always important to me anyways. I was always very connected to my family. I always saw them a lot. I always was a big part of their lives and they were always a big part of my life. And although now 11 years on, a lot of things have changed in terms of my family, that doesn't mean that I wasn't extremely grateful and thankful for just how the way that everybody came together and supported me. They came to see me by my hospital bed. I'm so grateful and so thankful for every single person, whether that be a friend or family. The second thing that my near-death experience taught me is that I am stronger than I think. And yes, this sounds very stereotypical. I've always been a very anxious person. Like, I will go bright red at the drop of a hat. I am the tomato, okay? I go bright red, I get embarrassed kind of very easily, and I get overwhelmed very easily as well. And I remember one of the things that I hated the most about being in hospital was that I had to have an MRI scan every couple of weeks. I'm very claustrophobic. And obviously if you guys have seen an MRI scan, you'll know how claustrophobic they are. You're in a very small space. And I was a lot of the time in those MRI scans for nearly 3 hours at a time. So I was past myself, honestly. I don't know how I did it other than I just had to do it, and I just had to kind of, you know, put myself in that mind frame of it's either this or death, or it's either this or I'm paralysed. You know, and when you kind of weigh things up, even when I was just 11 years old, when all of this was happening to me, you kind of just think to yourself, I can do this. And there's a very, very common kind of saying that you don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice that you have. And that is definitely true. In this situation, it was definitely true. The third thing that my near-death experience taught me is that time isn't always a healer. I still remember a lot of things like they happened yesterday, even though it was 11 years ago. And it's very, very crazy to think of, you can have one really bad experience and it stays with you for the rest of your life. And a lot of people will say to you like, well, time's a healer and you'll feel better in time. And although things have changed over 11 years, I still am mentally very, very hurt by what happened, and I'm still, like I said, I remember things like they happened yesterday. Although I'm a stronger person because of what happened to me, that doesn't mean that just because 11 years have passed, I'm going to pretend like it never happened. So in this situation, time definitely isn't really a healer for me. To some people it might be, but to me, things are still very fresh. I still get upset over it as well. Number 4 is that there are good people in the world, and this probably sounds a little bit strange, but before I actually got rushed into hospital for the second time because of my problems, before they kind of realised how serious the situation actually was, I was constantly going to doctor's appointments, and these people were putting me off. It's nothing, it's just growing pains, it's just period pains. And these definitely weren't period pains, I can tell you that. I was crawling, I could barely walk around my house. I was crawling around my house. The pain that I felt was insane, and it was unbearable at times. The first time I went into hospital because of my problems was in the hospital closest to where I live in my hometown, and they discharged me after a few days and said that everything was fine, but because the pain still continued and I continued to go backwards and forwards to the doctors and things like that, they then referred me to James Cook University Hospital, which is where I would stay. And being in James Cook University Hospital for all that time, not being able to see outside, to feel fresh air and things like that, I met some really fantastic people, whether that be other patients or whether that be the staff at the hospital and the nurses at the hospital. There are some really, really good people in this world who really did make an impact, and they're trying really, really hard at their jobs, trying to make children's time in hospital so much better. Number 5 is that I should be grateful, and not to say that I wasn't particularly grateful for what I had previously, but growing up as a child, my dad was always the person who spoiled me, whereas my mum would spoil me. Of course she would treat me to things, but there was always that cut-off point with my mum, and she was a little bit stricter, and she would often say to my dad, like, does she really need this? I don't think she does. Don't get it for her. And then my dad would always be the kind of person like, oh, she wants this, I'm gonna get it for her. Because I was getting everything that I wanted, I was kind of just used to getting my own way and to kind of just expect things, when obviously you shouldn't do that. So after coming out of hospital, and because I just realised that life is so precious and things can change so quickly, I realised that I should definitely be a lot more grateful than what I actually was. I was expecting presents and I was expecting things, and although I still am a very materialistic person, I don't expect things of people. I'm definitely a lot more of a grateful person. And the final thing that my near-death experience taught me was that I shouldn't always live in fear. I was totally living in fear, and I was letting fear dictate what I could and couldn't do in life. Whereas coming out of hospital now, if you said to me, hey, do you want to do this? That seems cool. I would be like, okay, let's go with it. Let's just do it. And I'm a lot more confident in what I can do, and I don't live in fear as much. And that is definitely one of my favourite lessons that I learned. It is such a positive thing to come out of such a horrible experience. So now I don't live in fear anymore. I've done some really, really amazing things that I kind of think to myself, if I hadn't gone through this near-death experience, would I have done it? And the answer is probably not. So I'm really grateful for my near-death experience, just because it's made me realise that you can't always just let fear control your life. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, click on that subscribe button. Thanks a lot for watching once again, and I hope to see you guys in my next video.